It's the Cafe Racer Podcast, episode 83 for October 31st, 2015. I'm Steven.
I'm Waldo.
You are a weirdo.
Yeah, well, it happens. So for those of you not in the viewing audience, it's Halloween. I'm dressed as Waldo. You know, I have Where's Waldo fame. So, yeah. Happy Halloween, everybody.
You're such a weirdo. I don't know what I'm going to do with you. I really don't.
Man, these glasses are crazy. Like, they come up above my eyebrows when my eyebrows are down. So, like, it's just weird looking. And they don't have any lenses either.
It's really weird. You look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's more Dr. Seuss. Whatever. It's a Waldo costume.
It's really strange. I'm trying to turn the volume down here a little bit more. Looks like we sound pretty loud, actually. It's almost turned all the way down. Right.
It's kind of making me think of Mr. Magoo glasses. Like if they were, if you couldn't see my eyes at all, if they're just completely like reflective or whatever, like his were. Oh, Steven. Man, that's a throwback.
I love Mr. Magoo. Anybody that can't drive, I call him Mr. Magoo. Some people, the young people look at me like, who are you talking about? Who's Mr. Magoo?
Right.
Oh, Magoo, you've done it again.
Yeah.
So I got the helmet that you sent me.
Good.
Crash sent me a laser.
Monaco.
Monaco, yeah. That's the lightest. I've never worn a carbon fiber helmet.
That one's nice. It's really light.
Yeah, it's super light. But the funny thing about it is I put it on and I was like fumbling for 10 minutes looking in my reflection in my car window trying to find the lever that brings down the sun visor.
Because it doesn't have one.
Yeah, dopey me is like getting pissed. Like, what's this button for? This doesn't do anything. Damn it. What that reminds me is on the bottom of the thing, there's like two different, and one's an indentation and one's like a little outward thing. What are those for?
Oh, okay. So there's actually supposed to be a rubber plug in both little things. You're talking about on the left and right side, like by your jawline, right?
Right.
There's supposed to be a little rubber grommet plug dealy in both of those, but the one just came out and I lost it, and it was too expensive to replace. It's like $11 or something for. They're part of the wiring system for a Bluetooth communicator because that helmet is pre-wired for Laser's Bluetooth system, and so you just buy like the modules. I noticed that if you yank the liner out, in the very back of the liner at the back of your head is like a piece of foam that's a little bit like it's removable, and so you pull that out, and that's where the Bluetooth module would fit, and then the wiring is all back there behind the liner.
Yeah, I actually saw that. I saw like a little plug back there, and there's some pretty big scooped out dishes for the ear things. I'm looking forward to putting my... Yeah,
it's got big room for speakers. There's actually a set of like pads that go in there too. I don't know where they are. Sorry. I lost them the last time I pulled the liner out, but there's like pads that go in the ear cup area.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I got a bunch of those pads all over the place because the Nolan is literally falling apart.
Yeah. How's it fit? How's the laser fit?
A little bit tight, but that's fine. It fits good. It doesn't move around. It's not uncomfortable at all.
Cool.
It's I think we both wear a size large, right? In most cases.
Yeah, we just have slightly different head shapes, so different helmets fit.
And I think that's, from front to back, I'm a little bit longer, so I'm used to more of like that long oval like Arai has. And honestly, none of the Nolans ever fit me until the N90. They always produced a hot spot on the forehead. But this
I usually get a hot spot on my forehead on a lot of helmets. Like my Shark, the one that I'm wearing now, did that until I kind of smushed it down a little bit.
kind of destroyed the liner in it. So
Yeah, kind of mitigated its protective features in that one spot. But
what difference does it make? So we were a week back from the AIMExpo and had a great time. How about you?
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Pretty. We were
Besides,
there for 2 days.
On the way
What's
here.
that?
I said besides.
Oh yeah, the luggage. Yeah, they lost my bag, and at least they found it, the same day, and got it to me.
And then drove an hour to my house to drop it off the same night. That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, that was good of them. But aside from that, like brief few hours of rage and panic, it was really good. The show was pretty exhausting. We were only there for 2 days, and I can't imagine being an exhibitor and having to work that show for 4 days.
It's funny is I saw a picture that was tweeted out on Saturday of the area toward the back of the show where they had some of those custom bikes set up where the GoPro booth was. It was mobbed. It was like wall to wall people there.
Yeah, I saw that picture.
Yeah, it looked like he couldn't have walked around. So for the listeners out there, how they work, AIM is the first 2 days are industry people. So it's dealers and press only. And then they open the show up. They used to do it on Friday night. Now I think it's just strictly Saturday and Sunday for the general public. And they have demo rides and everything. And we just decided to go for those first 2 days. And again, I'm sorry if people went there looking for us on Saturday and Sunday, because just due to time constraints, Crash's flight out, and we had Spencer Hill with us, and we all drove up in my truck from Jupiter. So we decided to come back on Saturday morning. But
yep,
the show was great. We saw a lot of cool stuff. There was some interesting new bikes there that Kawasaki came out with a bike that they're calling a cafe bike. And, we sat there for the press rollout and listened to them give the introduction, and calling this a cafe bike is a stretch. It's a cruiser. I mean, we're probably the two people that use that term the most loosely. We're not purists.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Yeah, we're very, very not strict with that.
But this is, they put a fly screen and a stripe on it and said it was a cafe bike. And
pretty much.
Yeah. They really were very interested in our feedback. So I spent a great deal of time talking to one of their guys that was in charge of development and design, and he listened to everything I had to say. And primarily it was about just the position of the bars and the foot pegs and the seating position, and kind of, the seat's a little low, the foot pegs are a little far forward. Even if you were to move the pegs in midline, you're going to have a really cramped riding position because of how low the seat is. Honestly, it's a cool looking bike. I really like it. And even the way that it looked with the seating position, I kind of liked it. It's got nice lines to it. I like the way you can see the shock. I think they said,
yeah, it's a nice looking bike.
A Ninja 650 engine, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. They're calling it a Vulcan
S Cafe.
Yeah, well.
I saw Nescafe at the store the other day and thought about it.
Crash kept saying,
I thought about that bike.
It's a Nescafe bike. And the funny thing is, when I kind of mentioned another manufacturer coming out with a similar bike and then making a cafe version of it, they're like, well, we don't really want to do what they're doing. Well, you did in the first place by even releasing the thing. So, I mean, it's a Yamaha Bolt, just a kind of different configuration. But I got a black dog barking at me. Hold on 1 second here. I'm going to yell at her. Come here. Come here. You want to be on the show? I'll make out with you like Brewer does with his dog. Come here.
Do you want to come on?
Well, some of the really cool stuff I liked, we kind of talked about this, was Schuberth's E1 modular helmet. What'd you think of that?
That thing was cool. Like just the weird kind of like show fact that all the visors were 3D printed instead of like being the production run. Like that they looked really cool.
Mm-hmm. I think
having stuff.
Hey buddy, your bandwidth is killing me here. You're coming in.
That was early.
Yeah. Anyway, let me talk about what we saw in the Schubert booth, because it was kind of neat. We've got a video up on our YouTube page. If you search Cafe Racer Podcast on YouTube, we put a bunch of videos up from the AIMExpo, the interviews that we did. And one of the really neat things was, so this helmet basically, the C3 Pro that Schubert makes, this is their adventure version of it. It's the same mechanisms and I think shell sizes, but it's kind of built with a visor that's adjustable. And the neat thing about it is when you adjust the visor and you raise the chin bar, it stays in that position. And you can actually take the visor off. Some really cool colors that they came out with too that are new for 2015 or 16 for that helmet. And then they worked in development with Touratech to produce a similar helmet under the Touratech line, but the Touratech version's a little bit different. The chin bar is shaped a little bit different, which I actually like. I like the shape of the Touratech helmet, but not the graphics. Are you there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm still here. Do I still appear to be here?
Yeah, you're okay. Your screen's frozen. Your audio's okay, but every once in a while you fade out.
That's weird.
That, and then
I closed out anything that was using,
yeah, I'm still losing you on bandwidth here.
Okay.
You want to try a reboot, and I'll just keep going?
I don't know. My computer's been acting up, so I don't know that we're gonna get much out of it.
I mean, we'll just have to deal with it for today. That being said, back to what we were talking about, I was kind of giving them an overview of the Touratech and the Schubert modular helmets, the ADV helmet. The one cool thing that I never really paid attention to much was Schubert's other line in the U.S. is Held, and Held was one of those brands that for a while I kind of only thought that they made gloves. Never really paid much attention to anything else that they made, and their gloves were kind of, I guess, really a premium product. Some of them were approaching $200, if not more, for a pair of gloves. So I kind of didn't really spend a lot of time messing around with them. But one of the things that they had there at the show that Crash turned me on to, which was pretty neat, was they've got touring gear, and they've got this gear called 2-in-1. Apparently they've had this out for a little while. But what this is it's a gear that's got a rain liner built into it that doesn't come out of the gear. So imagine you're putting this jacket on that's got a rain liner in it, but you're putting your arms in the sleeves behind or in front of the rain liner, not into the rain liner. And then you zip the jacket up, and it's ventilated, and it's got all these ventilated portions on it on the arms and the chest and everything, and you're good to go. Now you get a bit of a rain, you pull the jacket off, unzip the liner on the inside, put your arms in, zip it up, and you're good to go. So it's kind of like storing the rain liner in the jacket. And they also have pants that do the same thing. And then what we noticed as well is they have 2-in-1 gloves, which were really pretty cool too.
Yeah, those things were awesome. Like that was the first 2-in-1 product that I saw.
Yeah.
And James was the one. You and I walked over to the Held booth, and James was like, "You guys, you got to see this." And like he looked as excited as he had looked all show.
Yeah.
And like that thing was really cool.
No, that was it's pretty ingenious, actually. It's such a dumb idea. I don't want to say dumb, but I guess a basic idea, but it works really, really well. It's not like the gloves got like 2 pouches in it, one for the standard glove that's ventilated, and then one for the rain liner. And apparently they make the same version too for cold weather, but it's almost like seamless. Like you don't feel that liner in there against the back of your hand when you put your hand in there.
I didn't feel that at all.
No, it was phenomenal. So
By the way, I think it may have occurred to me what was going on with my bandwidth. There was someone watching Netflix in the room as well.
Yeah, well, if you're sharing bandwidth, that'll probably do it. Did you make them turn off their movie?
I did.
You're probably not popular right now. Okay.
It's a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old. I don't need to be popular.
Oh, that's true. All right. They don't need to be watching Jaws again either. So.
No. One other kind of thing that came out for us, or that developed for us about the same time as AIM was going on, was we now have a third little behind the scenes sidekick, doing our social media stuff, which she was on the show last time we did a show from this house, which was my girlfriend Jess.
So Jess is going to be doing our social media, and she's got an address as well.
Hello.
And I'm going to make from now on.
Yes, we're both Waldo, by the way.
Isn't there like another character in Waldo for some reason that you could have been?
Is there another character in Waldo?
There is. There's oh, what's her name? It starts with a W too. It's a girl.
Waldina?
Waldina?
Probably
Waldona?
something weird like that. And she wears like cool hipster like 50s.
Yeah, she has like pointed like
glasses.
winged glasses.
So
They're
she's
really
cool
cute.
and Waldo's a dork.
Wanda?
Where's Wanda?
Wanda?
Look it up.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this is Jess, and she's gonna do all of, like, you know, not just like, also a lot of just prodding us to do stuff, which is necessary because I'm lazy and don't do anything.
I'm gonna put her email address out there and tell everybody, you want to complain about anything, you call Jess. No, just
yeah. The new complaints department.
complain about it's your
I'm
podcast.
good with people that are mad.
She's great with people that are mad. Like at least, you know, if you're working against the people that are mad, she's great to have around.
Not
So
very
speaking
mad.
of mad people, we got some feedback that really wasn't mad. It was more constructive of anything. But during the last show, episode 82, after we got done recording, we got an email from CBrewer79 that said, look, I love what you guys are doing. Great shows, great content, but the audio quality is so horrible. You guys need to dump Google Hangouts or just dump the video and focus on audio or something. I'm sorry, I hate to complain, but I'm just trying to give you some positive feedback. Thanks. We do appreciate that feedback. And I think one of the problems with episode 82 was that we were doing it remote. And not just that show, but the last show from the Wheel Nerds as well, because they did the second night of the AIM, and we were dealing with really, really limited bandwidth at the condo that we were staying at. We do realize that the audio with using video at the same time is a little bit difficult. One of the things we've done to fix that is we use a digital recorder now. So we're not just ripping the audio off of Google Hangouts. We're using a digital recorder to capture everything from the show as well. And that should kind of help alleviate any audio quality problems that we've had. But we absolutely want to.
Yeah, we could have saved episode 82 if we just had a standby, like a backup recording going. But
you know, when I had my Tascam there, I just didn't think about plugging it in, or it would have made things.
Yeah.
We were just using one mic that Chuck had that was you know, like an omnidirectional mic, and it didn't really pick up great. And then we had a lot of bandwidth issues with the bandwidth dropping out. Those little 30-second spots of dead air, that was because it would go from like, you know, 3 or 4 megabits a second download to like a kilobyte. So that was kind of beyond our control when we're dealing with somebody else's bandwidth.
Yeah, we'll just have to, you know, we will plan next time.
Hold on, let me see what he sent here. He went to the to Barber, and he said,
oh yeah?
Yeah. He said, also, we just got back from Barber Vintage Festival, and they wanted to report that they finally had a demo ride there. It was only KTM, but at least it was something. They had the 1290 Adventure, the 1190 Adventure, the Super Duke 690 and 390. That's kind of cool that at least one manufacturer you know, supplying and supporting Barber by having demo rides. They should all do that. Barber's a big event.
Yeah, Barber is big, and KTM. I don't. Am I in KTM anywhere really doing demos?
Well,
so
they've never done it at Daytona. So in all the years that I've been going to Bike Week or to Biketoberfest, they've never done it. But they do have a demo tour that travels around the country and hits their dealers. And you can go on KTM's website,
right.
Tell you when that happens. That being said, I did a KTM demo ride.
You did?
Yeah, last weekend. And the only reason I did it is because we had to listen to Spencer Hill, the gear dude, just go on and on and on about KTM when we were with him.
We did.
And the funny thing is he started off talking about how much problems that he's had and how the motors like eat themselves from the inside out. And I kind of said, well, why you still have it? Why do you like it so much? And he's like, well, the reason is because they're like finely tuned and they're like riding on the edge of performance all the time. And, you know, the more I heard this guy just babble on about his KTM, I had to go do a demo ride. So that's actually like 2 weeks from AIM, right? Yeah, because this was last weekend, Saturday. The local KTM dealer, WMR Competition Performance, which is a kind of really nice shop, had a ride, and the truck was there. I posted some pictures on Instagram, and they had a lot of bikes there to ride. And I got to tell you, I fell in love with the 1290 Super Adventure.
Cool. I rode the 1190 back in 2014.
What'd you think?
I didn't know where to go, so I didn't really get much time in it on it. I didn't really. I just rode around the city.
Is that after we left
Overland Expo?
Yeah, after we left the Overland Expo, right.
Yeah, I rode down to Scottsdale, Arizona, the 1190, and I didn't get to really play with it much because I was in a completely foreign area, so I didn't know where to ride.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it felt good. And the 1290's got 100 more of whatever, so it's got to be better.
Well, here's the deal. I rode both bikes. It's the same motor. It's just punched out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The bike's bigger. It's very reminiscent of a GS Adventure.
Yeah, that's what I got from the 1192. It felt very GS-y.
And to me, the 1190 felt like riding the Tiger size-wise, how narrow it is. And so they're both 19-inch front wheels. They're both 17-inch rears. And I think the difference between the 1290 and the 1190 is the 1290's got a 180 on the rear and the 1190's got a 150, which is what the Stelvio had. 19 in the front, 17 in the rear with a 150 on it. There's an 1190R, which is a 21-inch front wheel. And the R, the suspension travel, I think, is set a little bit higher. There's a couple other differences. It's got a full roll cage kind of thing around the engine and the upper fairing. And it's really kind of more slated for off-road. If you were to take a 1290 and 1190, certainly the 1190 is probably much better for off-road, being that it's lighter, the narrower rear wheel. The 1290 is kind of more of a road-going bike. But I'll tell you what, the fit and finish on the thing was incredible. The motor was phenomenal, just incredible. The electronics package on it is great. It's not limited to like you set one thing and that sets everything else. You can independently set your damping. You can independently set your engine management and your traction control. So there's like combinations you can have.
Cool.
Preload your load on it. And I kind of, first of all, and I want to say too, that the demo ride we went on was really great because it was a lot of back roads and it was at a really spirited pace. And most of the riders that were there were locals that were experienced riders. Most of the guys I knew. So it was really cool.
But everybody in Florida, apparently. That's one thing I learned from AIM is that like everybody that rides a motorcycle in Florida.
There's only like 25 of us actually. So it's a really small group.
Probably true. Yeah. That's a good point.
You live in one place your whole life and you kind of develop these relationships with people. So I do know a lot of
I know what you mean. I lived in Virginia for 24 years of my life, and I had, if I had, as an adult, if I had stayed longer as an adult, I would have done, would have been in a similar situation.
Right. I mean,
but now I'm moving around all the time.
It is. My wife used to joke about it, like, you just make this up that these people. But I lived in a town where I went, to first grade there. And so my wife moved in with me and she was like, how do you know all these people? I'm like, I've known them my whole life. Most of these people never left. They're still here. But anyway, getting back to KTM, the demo ride was really cool. The dealership was really nice. And because of that demo ride, sitting in my garage right now is a 2015 1290 Super Adventure.
Nice.
I went this morning, traded the Gucci in, got a really great deal, was very happy with it. And luckily, this bike happened to be used with 22 miles on it. So,
like, how is there a story behind that? Like, do you know?
And I don't know how true it is, but this is what the dealer told me, and it sounds pretty reasonable. Apparently, this husband and wife went to the local KTM dealer, whichever one's closest to this place in Cocoa Beach that I went to, and they bought two bikes, two 1290 Super Adventures to beat Charlie and Ewan and ride across America. And the wife decided that she didn't like the bike, and he traded it in at a car dealership. So the car dealership must have called this local motorcycle dealership and said, "Will you take the thing off our hands?" They probably lowballed the guy, and that's how they ended up with the bike. And it literally, you know, I mean, there's 22 miles on the clock. So somebody had called me and said, "Hey, they've got this bike." You know, I called the guys and told them what I had, and I guess they called the wholesaler and said, "We can take it." So I ended up getting a really great price on basically a new motorcycle, and they took my trade, which made me really happy.
Yeah, I mean, now you don't have to figure out what lights to put on the Gucci because the Gucci's gone.
Right.
Like, who cares what
Yeah.
driving lights come on a Stelvio?
Yeah. So now I just got to put driving lights on this thing because I do a lot of commuting. I haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
There's driving lights on the KTM, but they're cornering lights. So they change levels of cornering based on how low you go into the corner. And I'm not 100% sure. I read somewhere in one article that you can turn them on to make them full-time use, but I don't know.
Interesting. I was poking around. So one of the relationships that we've had, that you've had, especially for a while, is with Twisted Throttle, and their new, what is she? What is her title?
I think she's director of
yeah, marketing. Their new marketing person, also named Jessica, not to be confused with our new PR and social media person, Jessica. Jessica Procup was talking to us, and she's interested in, you know, getting the word out about Twisted Throttle because obviously that's her job. And I was poking around their website the other day, and I noticed that their Denali line now includes, and they didn't have it at the show that I saw, but the Denali line now includes a couple of different options for 7-inch round sealed beam replacement LED modules. And these aren't like a bulb that goes in the back of the headlight. They're an actual full-on headlight replacement, kind of like the ones that goes in Harleys now, the new LED that comes into the Harley bikes, or the truck lights ones, or any of those. And I think they're really cool. And I'd really, really be interested in trying them out. But they're like $400. So that's kind of painful. One thing that's cool, they're going to ship us out a motorcycle cover so that I can test it out on the Bonneville, because my Bonneville lives outside now. So they're going to send me a cover to talk about and, you know, whatnot. I looked around online, and it's definitely one of the highest reviewed covers of any cover that anybody makes. Hey, you're back.
Yeah, somebody just got a shock collar put on them.
Nice. So I was just talking about how I was poking around Twisted Throttle's website again because, you know, I have to do that every so often to see if there's any new toys I want to buy. And I noticed that the Denali lights, their line now includes a 7-inch sealed beam replacement module.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a bulb. It's a full-on unit that you pull the whole sealed beam reflector out and you put this thing in. And the only thing is, it's like $400. And ouch. Like, I've currently got an LED headlight in my bike right now. It's just an H4 bulb, like an LED H4 that I like, except that it started flickering. The high beam flickers, and I don't know. I really can't work on my bike much here because I'm, you know, outside, and I'm not supposed to be working on the bike in the parking lot anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wasn't living in the manager's apartment, dating the manager, I would just say screw the rules and do it.
Let the manager yell at you.
But yeah, and let the manager yell at me. But the manager's my girlfriend.
Just let the manager yell at you. What's the big deal? What is she gonna do? Make you stand in the corner? Is she gonna throw you out? Let her go out there and make a scene in front of everybody so that they know that she's following the rules, and you can throw a wrench at her or something, and everyone will be happy.
Stage a Orange County Chopper style blowout.
Yeah, right. I told you not to bother me. I'm working on my bike. I don't care about the rules.
No, I need to figure out why because traditionally I like to ride with my high beams on during the daytime.
I've started that
And
actually myself too.
yeah, and I noticed the other day, Jess and I were out for a ride, and the high beam portion of the bulb was flickering. And I don't know if it's the LED module or if maybe I just have a line, like a contact that's not, happy. No idea.
Might be a loose filament, maybe, you think? No, no, it couldn't be. It's an LED. So
yeah, that's what I have no clue.
the only thing it could be is that on the circuit board where it's
maybe the circuit board's like fried a little bit, or maybe it really could be the contacts where they plug in, because an H4 has that 3-prong plug.
Mhm.
It might be where that plugs into my wiring harness on my bike is just kind of not great. I don't know.
They what about the co-ops in San Diego? Working on the bike there.
There's the only one I know of right now. There might be one I don't know of, but the only one I know of is Cerberus, and I honestly hadn't thought about it. It hadn't occurred to me.
Because I mean, the last time
to go do that,
told me they had like a subscription fee. They don't have like a one-time only type of thing.
They do. It's expensive. If you don't kind of buy in, it's expensive. If I had a project bike I was working on, like a bike I wasn't riding, it'd be cool. I would consider it. I'm actually thinking about, like, I've been thinking about seeing if I can rent a ground level storage unit at the place I have storage now, and then just taking the bike over there, rolling it into the storage unit, and working on it.
Is that where you have the storage now? You said ground level, the upper floors. Is it one of these places where it's all air conditioned?
Yeah, they've got some indoor climate controlled and some outdoor, like opening, not climate controlled.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that do that here, though, that live in like condos and apartments. They have like a little small garage at a storage place that they keep their bike at. My wife's uncle used to do that. He kept his Harley in a place and then had like all his toolboxes and stuff in there.
Yeah, I don't actually want to keep the bike there. I just want to be able to work on the bike somewhere.
He actually like treated his like a shop. I mean, not like it was open to the public, but he would go there like in the morning with like a lawn chair and a cooler and kind of hang out all day. Because there was people coming in and out, bringing in boats and stuff, and people that were contractors where they kept their equipment. And there was a few people in there that there was one woman who was a seamstress and did stuff, and she just like opened her garage door and sat in there and worked all day.
Huh.
That's not a bad
That's
idea
interesting
to work on it. And then you could keep tools and extra motorcycle gear and stuff there too as well.
Yeah, like right now, there's some of Jess's stuff in there and some of my stuff, and the plan is to go through it, downsize to a smaller unit. Because right now I've got a 5-foot by 15-foot unit. It's really long and skinny. If we could get down to a 5x10, it'd be a lot cheaper. But I don't know what they have ground floor. Like, really, like I would even if it was a ground floor indoor one, I would my toolbox rolls. I would pull up to a parking spot and roll my toolbox out to my bike, do what I needed to do, and then go put it back.
Yeah, it is nice to have a garage, though.
I miss it.
To be able to work in there. I mean, even though my garage is full of crap, even if I rearrange things a little bit, I got plenty of room to work. Anyway, getting back to the Denali stuff you were talking about, and that we actually got a chance to kind of look at their product at AIM, and I'm really impressed by the quality that Twisted Throttle puts into the Denali product line.
Me too.
And this was the first time I've actually really spent a lot of time looking at them. And Jessica told me that they had some new mounts coming out. They have some tube mounts, because her and I had a discussion about lights for the Stelvio and the possibility of me getting a different bike. And she's like, why don't you wait and see? And because we have some tube mounts that would go on the fork tubes that are brand new.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's one of the things I may consider. There's not a lot of really hard mounting points. There's a crash bar, but I don't think I'd want to mount anything to it the way it's configured on the Super Adventure. I think I would maybe go with the tube mount. So I'll see a little bit.
The 9 or no there that was done up, with all their stuff, and it had lights down like by the front axle. It had a pair of driving lights on either side of the front wheel.
Yeah, I think that's a different style mount that they have.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking about too is putting one of those sound bombs in too, because for me it's really critical to have a good horn. And
Oh yeah, that thing.
yeah, every factory horn on a bike, it just sounds like somebody stepped on a cat.
Mhm.
You know, completely anemic. But they make a new version of the sound bomb that's 2 pieces. It may be a little bit heavy. I don't know. I got to look at it and see.
It's funny. I've now that we're not talking to the guy, you know, the Denali guy, that same horn. I don't know. You know, obviously, I don't know what quality level, you know, the AutoZone Wolo version of that is.
Mhm.
But I've seen people take, because I've got one of those. You go to AutoZone, you get the Wolo little like mini air horn thing that's got the 2 tones or whatever. That's what I've got underneath my air box or underneath my battery box. And I've seen people separate those by themselves and connect them with tubing. So, I mean, it's really cool that they do it, you know, pre-packaged, like so it's already done and you don't have to cut it. But
Is that air tubing they connect it with?
Mhm.
An air pump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Because the horn that I have looks just like the single piece version that Denali sells, except that it's not all black.
I don't know if they're sourcing, you know, the products out from a manufacturer or parts and then doing it themselves. I'm not 100% sure. It
I'm
does
not sure either. I'm
the
sure
same as like
I,
this. One of them looks like the Stabell horn, you know?
you know, the one that looks just looks like the Stabell. Are you thinking of the Nautilus, the one that's the curved?
Yeah.
Well, Stabell or Stebel or however the heck you say it also makes one that is a mini air horn. It's just like their Denali mini air horn.
Mhm.
And I have a different company's versions by a company called Wolo. They make all kind, you know, the same thing, like the beeper horns and the air horns and all that sort of stuff.
So if any of the listeners out there know the mystery behind the horn, let us know.
My guess is that, you know, it's a, you know, product sourced just like everything else. Like I don't imagine that they're manufacturing these things in, you know,
Right.
in their store in Rhode Island. It's probably, you know, their designs getting sourced out to an overseas manufacturer,
Right.
which isn't necessarily bad. Like that's
Not at all.
there's plenty. That's, I mean, my iPhone was not made in the, you know, in Cupertino, California. It was designed and then sourced by
I don't think anything
outsourced. So
in Cupertino, California, except Starbucks, probably. But
yeah, well,
let's talk about the new Triumphs.
yeah. So a couple days ago on the 28th, Triumph released a couple of new bikes that really make me curious about, like I don't want to get rid of the Bonneville. I've put so much blood, sweat, and tears into it, but I almost want to get rid of the Bonneville to get one of these. So it's replacements for the Bonneville and the T100 and the Thruxton. And I don't know if they're keeping the Scrambler as is and going to continue producing it, or if they're just not going to make it anymore.
I couldn't figure that out. I'm actually looking now to see what they're saying on press releases. But
so to fill everybody in, it's a 900. There's 2 different options in terms of engine, and it depends on which model you get. What model you get will influence which engine you get. There's a 900 and a 1200. And the 1200 actually has a 1200 high performance version that comes in the Thruxton R, I think it is. That's a little bit more performance oriented than the regular 1200. Kind of like Thruxtons for a long time, I don't know if they still do, actually had higher compression than Bonnevilles and T100s, even though it was the same engine.
The crank's different though, right?
Yeah, so the new ones all have the new ones all have 270 degree cranks, which the difference between the Bonneville, my Bonneville, which has a 360 crank, and the Scrambler, which is the same engine with a 270 degree crank, is really just that they have the same peak torque, but like 1,000 RPM lower, and the engine sounds a little cooler on a scrambler and is got a little more character to it. The Bonneville engine is a little sewing machine like, and the scrambler engine is a little more lively, a little more kind of like lumpy, like, you know, mine's just like this really, like, especially if you listen to the exhaust sound, it's this very like metered, like, and the scramblers,
potato, right?
Yeah, the scrambler's got more of a lumpy sound to it.
Yeah, which I kind of I like that.
Yeah, for sure. So the new ones have the 270.
Because you like these so much? Or you still
I don't know.
Around a Ducati scrambler?
I don't know, honestly. It's the I don't want to get rid of my Bonneville, but I don't want to buy another one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really want to buy another one and keep the one I have. The new ones have throttle. I mean, have traction control and like a much better engine management, dual disc brakes up front. You know, Brembos if you got the Thruxton R. They're really nice.
Yeah, the one is the kind of gray one that they've shown in there. Is that the Thruxton R? Like the pictures they're showing, or is it a Sport Classic? It's hard to tell what I'm actually looking at here because
the Thruxton R has silver Brembo calipers and gold forks.
Yeah, that thing is badass. I love that bike.
I want to see the numbers on it. Like, I'm definitely interested. I want to see what the spec sheet say, just to see, like, you know, how heavy is the bike really? Like, did it gain weight? Did it lose weight? Is it the same? How much more power are they really making? Stuff like that.
Well, and there's a, you know, if they made that thing heavy, 1200 in it, and it's not that much of an increase in power, kind of not a good deal, you know, kind of kill it for me. But there's not much in here that tells you, and some of the stuff that's been released about but I really, really like the way that bike looks.
Oh yeah, they're definitely pretty, and I really like what they did with the down on the engine cases. They've got like that flat machined circular area. I don't know if that's because of something on the inside of the engine cases being different, but it looks really cool on the outside.
This is an all-around nice looking bike, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think it's an improvement.
So they're saying that they're saying the high power unit, 2.6 foot-pounds of torque at 4,950 RPMs.
Can you say that? You say 82.6?
82.6.
Not bad. The stock Bonneville is in the 50s. So
they don't have any horsepower things released yet. You know, it's funny because when I went to that demo ride the other day, they were doing dyno runs for $20 there, and it really makes you understand how liberal the manufacturers are when they talk about how much horsepower a bike produces.
Yeah,
you know, and then they're measuring at the rear wheel, but then they'll do a calculation for it at the crank, I think. And like a buddy of mine had a Super Duke there that he had the complete exhaust system done and a reflash of the ECU. Apparently KTM's got like a race reflash of the ECU, and this bike is fast, and it did like, I think 153 horsepower with like 93 foot-pounds of torque. But some of these weren't even close to what they thought they were going to put out. Some of the guys that brought bikes in there. That's when you read some of these horsepower specs on the things. I'm just curious how accurate they really are.
Yeah, I mean, I know that those numbers are all, you know, on an engine that doesn't have a drivetrain attached to it and all that sort of stuff. Like, that's horsepower at the crankshaft. And I really only use it to compare it to other manufacturers' specifications. Like, you know, Triumph's quotes the Bonneville at like 60 something, I think, for 56 horsepower. So if they're a new one, they say it makes 70. I'll go, okay, so it's a little bit more.
Right. So this Thruxton, listen to this. It's got a lot of electronic control. I don't think the ones that they're currently being sold have this.
No, they don't.
Ride-by-wire throttle, variable ABS, switchable traction control, and a selection of 3 ignition maps.
Yep. Yeah, it's they from what I hear, from what I read, it looked like they all have that, and then the Thruxton R has different stuff. Like I think the Thruxton R might be the one that has the switchable maps, but they all have ride-by-wire and ABS and stuff like that.
Wow. LED lights front and rear, USB socket for charging on the headstock.
Yeah.
And then it says they've got something called inspiration kits. Have you seen this?
No.
Yeah, it says starting with the track racer kit that includes a cockpit fairing, lower clip-ons, a shorter rear mudguard, Vance and Hines slip-on exhaust, and several tidbits to complete the image. This was all an article that ran in Gizmag that I'm reading, that I just did a quick web search, and it was, let's see if it came from a motorcycle magazine. It doesn't really tell you here. Interesting. Really neat looking bike. Yeah, I like classics a lot. I'm a big fan of those. You know, the V7, even the little Continental GT, although I didn't really like the one that I rode just because I think it was probably set up wrong from the dealer. It was really, really vibey, but I'm hoping that at EICMA they release some new stuff too, Royal Enfield.
Yeah.
That all these modern classic bikes that come out, you know, like when Ducati had their Paul Smart bike and all, I love those.
Oh yeah, for sure. Those bikes, man, I loved the GT1000.
Yeah, and the Scrambler is really starting to grow on me too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really dislike it when it first came out. I'm just liking it more and more the more I see it.
Yeah, seeing it in the wild, I've seen 4 or 5 of them now, and you mentioned how the bike looks really small, or pretty small, and seeing other people on them and seeing them go down the road, you're right. And something that I kind of like about them is how it almost has this like itty bitty bike on big wheels kind of look to it, especially the front wheel. Like the way the headlight is so flush mounted with the forks, it doesn't stick out really far like mine does.
Right.
And so it gives the sense that the bike is really stubby on top of these like big wheels. I just think it looks cool.
I think it looks cool too. Yeah.
One other random thing that just occurred to me. So we talked about me going to the IMS in Long Beach, and the Navy stepped in and said, "No, you're not doing that."
Damn.
I know. So a really quick explanation. The helicopters. I was on leave while we were in AIM. I took time off work, and then I had a whole week after that. And so, like the Wednesday after that, after we got back from AIM, I get this phone call. I'm like, "Why is work calling me? This is weird." They don't really need me for anything that I, if anything was going to come up, it would have already come up. Why are they just now calling me? Okay, so I answer the phone, and it's my division officer, which is kind of like, for those of you that aren't in the military, like kind of my boss's boss, sort of. So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, so when you get back, we're going to send you over to this other squadron for 6 months." And I'm like, "Well, why?" So I guess the deal was this other squadron, they're called HSC 85. Their sole mission is to be helo support for special forces. So they were shutting down. They were decommissioning. And all their people, or not all their people, but a lot of their people had already gotten transferred out, and people that had orders there had their orders canceled and got sent other places. And then the Navy was like, "You know what? We're keeping you around." And so at the last possible second, basically, the Navy's like, "Just kidding. Go back to flying again." And they don't have any people, or they don't have very many people. So, they're working on like a skeleton crew. And so it's going to take months for the Navy to start like funneling people back to them permanently. And in the meantime, they just kind of like called up to the wing, which is like my squadron's boss. And we're like, "Hey, wing, can you find extra people around the seawall and the flight line and just let us borrow them until we have people again?"
So these guys are
so
too, right?
What's that?
They're at North Island as well?
Yep. Yeah, they're right around the corner from me.
Right.
And so I got borrowed, and we have reservists at 85,
Mhm.
and you hear on the commercials 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year thing. Their 1 weekend a month for the reservists is the weekend of IMS
So you got to be
in Long Beach.
right.
And so I've got to work that weekend. And I already had something so I couldn't go up on the press days. Otherwise I'd be able to go on like Friday or whatever. But the Navy stepped in. And so I'm kind of bummed. Like 2 years in a row, I've not gone to Long Beach. And this has been the only 2 years I've lived close enough to go to Long Beach.
Yeah, it sucks, but there'll be other ones coming up again, I guess.
I will be here next year, probably, and we'll try again.
I have faith in you.
Yeah, I mean, last year I never even got press credentials. So this year I got closer. I got press credentials.
Maybe somebody that's a little bit friendlier, you know?
What's that?
Why don't you get a job with the Canadian Navy? Somebody who's friendlier.
Maybe.
Just work like 4 hours a day and, have tea time and stuff like that.
And grow a beard. Except that I can't really grow a beard. I would look like Joe Dirt.
Well, like I said, it's not the end of the world. It would have been.
No, it's just,
especially we had some stuff going on with one of the manufacturers that would have been kind of cool, but it's not a big deal.
I could, yeah.
Well, you still going to try to get the bike to them?
Well, if they wanted it, like if I emailed the manufacturer we were talking to, and I didn't get a response yet. But if they still want the bike, I can probably get them the bike.
I'm going to actually call them next week just because we were working on some other stuff and I haven't heard from them. So I was going to follow up with a phone call, and I'll kind of start that conversation and see what they say.
Yeah, if they want the bike, I can drive it up there and leave it with them.
Right.
And then come get it,
How far
later.
of a drive is that for you? A couple hours?
Hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably more like 2 hours.
I'll talk to them this week and see what they want to do. So we talked about the new Triumph bikes, and we didn't get to see the new Honda Africa Twin, and thank God I didn't really actually bet a paycheck on it because I would have been in trouble since I get paid once a month. And they're saying that it's probably going to be out at AIMExpo, but after riding, and I've been thinking a lot about this, after riding that DCT on that NC 700, I was really thoroughly unimpressed with it, and I really hope that if they put DCT in the Africa Twin, it's nothing like what I rode.
Right.
Because it was like super boring and just, I'm in fifth gear, I think, at like 35 miles an hour. It
right.
felt like the thing shifted right off the start, Yeah, really kind of unimpressed by the whole thing. The idea of a centrifugal clutch, it started off like a recluse clutch where you can be in first gear at a light and take your hand off a clutch and then just go. I kind of like that idea. I don't really know how the recluse works throughout the rest of the gear range, but the DCT, it just, I kept finding myself putting it in manual mode and using the paddle shifters. I didn't like it at all.
Right.
Even in the sport.
You talking about the DCT and your experience on the Honda made me think of the MN04 or NM, whatever it is, the weird thing. And then the other day, week or so ago, Jess and I we went paddleboarding, stand-up paddleboarding, and we had to like rent paddleboards kind of across the street from the beach. And so we were walking back, and I saw a guy on a CTX 1300. I think that's what it is. The thing it looks kind of Harley Road Glide-esque, in terms of its foot position and everything. And for some reason, I don't know why, I had seen pictures of it. I'd seen it in real life before. In that moment, maybe it was just the color or whatever, it looked good. The bike actually looked good to me. Even though I've kind of talked crap about it. And, Jess and I have been talking about, a bike that would be more suitable for us to travel on.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the Scrambler is not it, but it's too pretty. I don't care. And if I decide to get one, I'm gonna get one. But my next bike is really probably going to be a TW200. Like no BS, that's probably going to be the next bike I get. But anyway, looking at the CTX 1300 with the guy sitting on it, I was like, he looks comfortable. Those foot pegs don't look too far forward for me. The bike actually looks good. And so I got home and I got down and I sat down on my computer. I'm like, all right, look this thing up. Those things are 18 grand.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is?
What the heck?
It's the same motor that's in an ST1300. And when
I know, it's at V4.
Yeah, the last year they sold that motor, the ST1300 was $18,000, which is insane for that motorcycle. Absolutely insane. And same thing with that CTX 1300. To me, that's just, it's there's not that much technology in it to warrant that. There's no active suspension in there or switchable modes. It's an ST1300 with new bodywork wrapped around it and a different frame.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they wanted 13, that'd still be high.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just being, this is somebody who just bought, a motorcycle north of 18 new. I mean, brand new KTM Super Adventures are 20,000, but look at the technology you're getting in the bike. It's completely
different. Yeah. That's why I was really kind of offended when I looked at the price tag. I was like, it's not really a bike that speaks to me a lot, but I was like, that might be worth considering.
Honestly, you're not ready for the feet forward riding position, in my opinion. You're just not. I think an FJ09 or, even a Versus or something like that's comfortable two up might be where you be looking at. What about a V-Strom?
They're really ugly.
Well, you're talking to the king of ugly bikes here, so
I hate the beak on the V-Strom.
Right.
I don't
woodpecker.
I don't hate beaks.
Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't hate beaks, but that one's awful. One's just terrible.
These guys that make these decisions on styling, like whoever decided to put that lump in the beak there should be flogged,
Yeah, I mean, the bodywork on the older 650, not the oldest 650, but like when they updated the bodywork on the 650, that looked really good. And if they made that same crap on 1000, it would have looked great.
What do you think of the Versus?
But I think that one looks really good.
Yeah, so do I. That's a
great. I think the Versus 1000 is great looking. The Versus, the new Versus, the 650 and the 1000 are both beautiful.
Yeah, those are great looking bikes. I think Kawasaki nailed it with that. I personally like the orange, but
it's a good orange.
Yeah, I don't mind the green either. Kawasaki Racing Green is very cool. That's a bike you should try to ride, if you can get a chance.
If we had tried hard enough.
Yeah. You didn't ride it.
Could have ridden one. Yeah, no. I rode the FJ though, and I really loved that.
Yeah, I was impressed by that bike. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. It's just it's small for me. I'm a big guy and it just felt relatively small. The one thing I didn't really like about the FJ, that I don't like the liquid crystal display. It was really hard for me to see.
Really?
Yeah, and the KTM's got one too, but the way it's angled, you can see it a lot easier. The one on the Yamaha, you could see like all the patterning in the liquid crystal, which really bugged me. In other words, you could see everything that's there. Just right. It was lit up. There wasn't a lot of contrast. Whereas the one on the KTM, it's pretty good.
I wonder if that's just a head angle to the display thing.
Very well might be, but that's
because I didn't notice that, but I wasn't paying attention to it either. So
and there may be an adjustment on that pod that I didn't notice where you could tilt it to get away from.
There might even be a contrast adjustment.
There may be, but just the one I rode it was just really distracting. I didn't like it. I couldn't really tell. I had a hard time seeing the whole thing. I couldn't tell what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem at all. Maybe I don't know what it was.
Maybe it was angle that we're viewing it at.
Yeah, I think there's other. You and I aren't the same height, so
no. There's other options out there, Crash, that I personally believe would be, because I'm just going to make fun of you if you get that GTX 1300.
Oh no, it's not going to happen. That thing is stupid expensive and not that cool. If it was, I mean, honestly, that thing's it speaks to me about in the same way as a Harley Road King,
right.
which is to say that I like it. I just don't. I wouldn't buy it. I think the Road King is really cool. It's, you know, I like the. I'm starting to like the F6B. I like the no top case, but saddlebags
There's
appearance.
killer ones that come into the Shell station on Sunday that guys have, you know, done just a few things to that really, they look great. I like the F6B a lot. It's really grown on me. Really, really like that bike.
So yeah, I mean,
You know,
I like that look. I definitely think that what's really truly in my future is an upright riding position, either pseudo adventure bike or actual adventure bike. You know, like a pseudo adventure bike could be the FJ. Like the FJ is not, it is a road bike through and through. There's no intention of ever taking that in the dirt.
I mean, a Versus would be better. It's still also on that sport touring end of the adventure market because it's got
Right.
a small front wheel, and you know, it's just not really, it's not really an adventure bike. That's such a relative term nowadays. We've talked
I
about
would,
it, you know.
yeah, I'd if I wanted to like really be specific, I would call the Versus and the FJ and the maybe even the Multistrada and the BMW S1000X or whatever it's called.
XR1000S, yeah.
Yeah, I would call those upright sport touring motorcycles.
They are,
You know, they're
you know, and there's probably a few riders out there that can hammer those things on a gravel or dirt road, you know, not really going off road. And then, you know, it was funny because when I was doing research for bikes and looking at stuff, and you see there's always that odd video out there of somebody on a bike that taking it on a road they probably shouldn't have it on, just to say, yeah, this can do it. That's got nothing to do with the bike. It's the rider's skill level, not to mention the fact that the bike's not going to do, you know, a multi-thousand-mile trip like that and last without parts starting to fall off of it, or hard parts getting bashed, or the bike getting dropped and destroying plastic on it. There is a reality behind some of these bikes, and that adventure touring segment, any of these big bikes, the less plastic you have on them, the better they are for that. And you know, when you're looking at the KTM, obviously the 1190R is more of a real adventure bike with a 21-inch front wheel. And but you took take a guy like me and put me on that, I'm going to have a really hard time and probably wear myself out quick on something easy, where you look at guys that are experienced that maybe came from trials or dirt bikes or, you know, enduros, and they're more confident and they can handle the bike more. But it's, you know, you got to make a decision based on what the majority of your riding is going to be and what you really like. And if one of those pseudo adventure bikes kind of makes you happy and you can like do a couple dirt roads on the weekend and go camping, that's what you should look at. That's kind of,
I think that's
you know,
that's pretty
Stelvio.
realistic. What's that?
Stelvio really wasn't a real off-road motorcycle. It was 600 pounds, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's the GSA is the same way.
Yeah, and you know, there's people that have ridden all types of bikes all over the world. It's got nothing to do, you know, there's people that ride postie bikes all over the world that are little tiny nothings, scooters, for
Yeah.
God's sakes. It's just tougher when you have a huge investment in a motorcycle and you're taking it into a foreign country and then wrecking it, or like things falling apart. That's something to consider as well too, is how much you have in an investment. For me, 90% of my riding's commuting, you know, 150 miles a day. So
yeah, I mean, I've got a much shorter commute. It's 20 miles round trip. And so like for me, I mean, I haven't ridden the Versus. I have ridden the FJ. The FJ would be great to commute on and equally great to go ride up the Pacific Coast Highway. And you know, fine on dirt or gravel roads. Like my Bonneville is fine on dirt or gravel roads.
Well, you know, the other thing you have to consider too is the amount of load you're going to put on the bike, and your weight and Jess's weight and all your bags is nothing compared to me by myself in my gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I outweigh the two you put together probably. I'm 260, so she looks like she's less than 100 pounds. So
she's not. She's not. We would outweigh you combined.
Okay. But anyway, so
we combined weight, we're 300 pounds, a little north of 300 pounds combined weight.
Well, and then when I got gear on the bike, and cameras are kind of heavy when I'm packing a lot of. Now that's why I went to the smaller format cameras, because the other stuff was heavy. All those lenses,
right,
a lot of weight. But I think if you rode the Versus 1000 and compared it to your experience with the FJ, you'd probably find two bikes right there that would fit the bill for you, for commuting, for travel, for kind of everything.
Like, yeah, I mean that's sort of what I was like. I've liked the Tiger 800 as well for the same reason.
What did you think about? Did you ride? No, we had already. You didn't ride the
Tiger. I rode a Tiger just like the one you guys had.
Right.
On like a 15-minute demo ride from a Triumph dealership, and I liked it. It felt. Actually, you rode it and the FJ09. How did they feel compared to each other?
I like the FJ09 better, a lot better, personally. The Tiger, I liked, let's put it this way. I liked the seating position, the chassis, and I liked the guts of the Tiger, less the motor. It was the motor that I didn't really care for on the Tiger, which, like James loves the triple. I like the Yamaha better.
The Yamaha's a triple.
Yeah, but I'm saying he liked the Triumph triple a lot better.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
I like the Yamaha. To me, it's a better motor. It has something to do with the way the Tiger's geared too. It's got a huge rear sprocket. It didn't really. I kind of never found a comfortable gear to be in. I didn't like it. Otherwise, I would have kept the bike and got made that my touring bike. But it also felt. This sounds stupid, but it felt small to me. It just felt small.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a big bike. The one I rode felt really nimble and light and kind of small. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're comparing the new bike to the Stelvio, which it's a little bit lighter, and it's a big bulbous front end because it's got like an 8-gallon gas tank like the Stelvio had, but it feels much more nimble than the Stelvio did.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The Stelvio did feel a little ponderous.
A little portly.
Yeah. Something I don't know. Every time, so I've ridden a GSA for a little bit, a couple hours. I've ridden an F800. I've ridden the Tiger 1200. The windshields all bothered me, and the windshield on the FJ was actually nice.
Yeah, really nice. I have been commented that I wouldn't even replace that. Like I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
No.
Yeah, it felt right. Like it felt right. The ones on the other bikes all seem just low enough that the buffeting starts right at my head.
There's always like something it's either too short or too high. There's always like a little problem that would make you a little crazy. Like on the Stelvio, I put a Wunderlich extension on it just because no matter what position I put it in, I got buffeting or loud noise, and that kind of cured the problem. I haven't really figured out the KTM yet. I'm still playing around with it, but the Yamaha, I was like, man, this is fine. This is great.
Right. Yeah. I felt the same way on the Yamaha. I was like, I even like reached up and played with it, like wiggled it around and was just like, is this for real? Is this actually working?
Yeah. That's definitely a bike that I would buy, and ride. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. I think the side cases that they said that Yamaha sells for it look really good. They aren't body colored, plasticky. They just look nice.
Right.
I'd consider something like a GV monokey, or honestly, I'd consider anything to be like a Pelican cases mounted onto something, whatever. I don't care.
GV makes really nice bags. The monokey bags are phenomenal, especially that one. I think it's the new one that's kind of got a sporty. I had E41s on the V-Strom that, you know, open 2 different ways. They kind of like the top sort of open a little bit so you could pack stuff in there, and then the whole side opened. But the bags on the KTM are horrendous.
Oh yeah.
KTM's like touring luggage that's kind of plasticky aluminum, and it's just feels like crap to me. They're going to be replaced with, I'm going to be, you know, the one thing about the Stelvio is had SW Motec bags on there, and they were really nice bags.
Yeah.
You know, for the money, comparing them to TourTech, TourTech makes great bags too, but the SW Motecs were good. And when we saw the new ones that they released at AIM with a bunch of new features on them, the Twisted Throttle had, yeah, and I may consider something like that in the future. I mean, I'll use these for a while just because I don't want
to. You know, those new GV bags that we saw, I don't know how new they are, but they were new to me. The GV Adventure, like, side cases. The thing that I liked about those, and I didn't pay a lot of attention to the SW Motec ones, but the GV ones, I really liked how big like how far away from the case the loops for you to like hook extra straps around were. Like you could get a whole finger underneath the silly bar where you'd hook your extra strap or you'd hook a hook or whatever.
It was really actually just a bar. You know, that's what was nice about it.
Yeah, it wasn't like some little tiny, barely raised above the surface of the bag, little metal bracket.
You know, that I may look at those as well too. They were kind of nice. The one thing about the, you know, certain adventure bikes, and the Super Adventure is one of them, is they use the split size bags. Like there's a 31 liter on one side and a 40 something on the other because of the exhaust being in the way.
Right.
Which the Stelvio had the same issue. They just made the carrier for the other side a little bit wider out. Like you could actually put like 2 tool tubes side by side in that gap on the other side to make the bags equal in distance.
Yeah. There's a company called Metal Mule, I think.
Yeah.
They do that. They make their bag frame stick out farther so that you still have the same size bags on each side instead of having a bag that's like got a shaved out section or something.
Yeah, and this one of the bags, like BMW does on the KTM, is dished. So it's this weird interior dimensions on there, and they actually make an inner bag for it that's shaped like that, which is really kind of bizarre. So just to let you know, looking on GV's website, those hard bags are not listed yet.
Oh, they must be new then.
They are. They're called Outback side frames. The Outbacks is what they are. Okay.
Those were cool. I liked them. The only thing that I thought of when looking at them was if you had a strap, depending on how you ran your straps, they could slide along that bar, which wouldn't make me happy.
They're priced about the same as SW Motec. They're in
about the
price range, yeah. So their 37 liter bag retail on it's $460.
Oh, that's pretty average.
The 48 liter bag is $475. It's not bad. Yeah, they were really made well too. You know,
I mean, Jivy does good bags.
Well, it's Halloween. I'm gonna try to go see the kids. We have a lot to talk about. We can save it for the next show. What do you think?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Check us out. Listen, if you haven't seen us on YouTube, go to youtube.com/Cafe Racer Podcast. We've been putting up a ton of videos from the AIMExpo. We got some more to go as well. We're on Instagram as well as Cafe Racer Podcast, and on Twitter as Cafe Racer Pod. And check us out on Facebook. We got a new logo, guys. We're going to be releasing that soon, and a bunch of new stuff happening. So, Crash.
Yeah, if you want to support us, you know, if you think the show's worth $1, you know, $1 a month or something, you can go over to patreon.com and search for Crash or Cafe Racer Podcast in the search, and you'll find us there. And for those like handful of you that are like, man, I've been supporting and still haven't gotten a sticker. Now that we have a logo, that's actually going to happen. So, and I've got a ton of stickers from other companies to give out too.
$1 a month's not a lot, $12 a year, but it would help us a lot. So think about it.
It really helps.
Yeah. That's it all. That's all I got, man.
All right. Well, get out there and ride.
See ya.